welcome to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. I am your host, Sam Randazzo. I'm joined by my two rather chipper co-hosts. To my right, it is the one, the only, it's Uncle Sam.
Hello.
Where's this t-shirt from today?
What?
Your t-shirt. What's on the t-shirt?
Megadeth.
That I saw that. The sick, the dying, and the dead.
That's it. It's me.
To my left, it is none other than our very own Mr. Zolo, Mike Palazzolo.
Blessed.
You didn't even make an attempt today.
Thought you'd steal it.
And behind the computer, absolutely buttering his own cob, it is Bruce, the tugboat Venditti.
How you doing?
Welcome back. We are finishing off our off-season recaps today with none other than our very own Detroit Lions. We have an entire episode dedicated to them and talking about their off-season moves and the views that we have on them for the upcoming season. We also might throw in a quick segment about some Pistons talk. Pistons made a big move today.
Nobody cares.
Uncle Sam, are you excited about basketball?
I can't see why you pay that guy the money they gave him and then fire him in 1 year.
Well,
It makes no fucking sense to me. He has no roster. You can't put all the blame on him.
I'm sure we're gonna.
He was pretty fucking useless too, but I mean that's regardless.
So yeah, if you haven't heard the news, Pistons fired Monty Williams after 1 year.
They paid the guy an outrageous amount of money to come here. Too.
What's funny about that, if you go look at our Instagram, at Tip Balls on Instagram, we recently did a Mount Rushmore of dumpster fire organizations, and the Pistons were on there. And this was a pretty dumpster fire organization move today, to say the least.
I will say this. The Lions were known for many decades for being absolute trash.
Dumpster fire, yeah.
Okay. And the other sports teams in this town have gone through the same shit. There was a time when the Red Wings were fucking dumpster fire. They still are.
Look, if the
Tigers were a dumpster fire.
if the trade is that the Tigers and Pistons and Wings are shit, so the Lions can be good, I'm
Take
cool.
it all day.
I'll take it.
I'm cool with it.
I agree.
It is what it is, dude. They all go through these
We're not Boston.
where they're horseshit.
Fuck Boston.
I don't like Boston either.
Biggest
but
piece of shit sports town on the planet. They don't deserve shit. Their fans are overrated as fuck. They're spoiled babies, and they're racist. Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth, everybody.
Anyway.
Uncle Sam, how's your week going so far?
It's just fucking living the dream.
High points, low points, pits, peaks.
High points, I got up this morning. Low points, I will get up tomorrow morning.
Do you know what Sunday scaries are? Have you heard that phrase before?
No.
It's after the weekend ends. It's Sunday night, and you're about to go. Whatever. You're about to go to bed, and you have all this anxiety about work the next day, and just everything, the week ahead, and all the bullshit.
And for all the decades that I've been working, I work fucking 6 days a week, a lot of times 7 days a week. I never had weekends to think about how fucking grueling Monday mornings are. Because guess what? They just came around and around and around and around and around.
You're on a carousel of shit. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Well, I work a 9 to 5.
Highway to hell, as they call it.
I work a 9 to 5, and I know President Baker's in the chat, by the way.
I've
Happy
never worked a
Juneteenth,
9 to
President
5.
Baker. Shout out to you. I work a 9 to 5,
Yeah.
and I looked at Sarah the other day, and I realized, I'm like, shit, I have Sunday scaries before every work day. Every night before I go to bed, I just have all this anxiety about having to do it all again tomorrow. And the weekends are not long enough. Am I crazy?
That was my dad. My dad was a 40-hour fucking
You're not.
unionized employee for his whole time that he worked, except for when he was working at Marty's Marathon gas station and before we were born. And fucking, it is what it is, dude. I get it. That whole, 40-hour work week people, they don't get it. They don't know what it's like. They don't know what it's like.
Zolo.
To go for fucking 4 decades of just fucking punishment. They have no idea. They don't have the grit.
Funny you should say grit.
Yeah.
Funny
Don't
you
have
should
the
say
fucking
grit on a day like today. Zolo, how's your week been going so far? High points, low points, pits, peaks.
Semi-miserable, but I'll tell you what. and I want to hear you guys.
Is it a gun in the mouth day yet?
No.
Is it a gun under the chin day
If
yet?
I got past Wednesday, and I had a really productive day today, if I got past Wednesday, the work week's almost over, which is nice.
Thursday is the new Friday, like I said
So-
last week. Yeah.
Yesterday was the most fun I've had all summer. That softball doubleheader. Have you had more fun than that this summer?
That was the highlight of my softball career so far was yesterday.
But this summer, you've had more fun than that.
Maybe up north,
Okay.
I think. But outside of that, within the city limits, yesterday was a great day.
I had a lot of fun.
Tip softball had a monstrous day yesterday in our doubleheader. Yes, 94-degree doubleheader yesterday. Took home 2 wins. Locked up 3rd place for the playoffs. Tuesday, meaningless game. We had a 19-9 W followed by a 10-6 W. Even out of gas, completely sweated out. At the end of the day, got 2 big wins yesterday in the doubleheader, which I asked you to come for. I wanted you to be a part of the history, and you decided
I
not
don't
to show
care
up.
about that.
And you want to know something?
Yeah.
There's a lot of MVPs yesterday. A lot of them. Jack pitching 2 complete games. Brian with the scoops. Bruce got us 4 outs on foul tips from behind the plate. And I saw Bruce move faster than anybody on the field yesterday trying to run out a ground ball to first base. And
I've
I
never
thought
seen it.
listen to me. It's a running joke that Bruce moves in slow motion.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what came over him, but I've never seen him move that fast in my life.
His little walk at the beach with his little tight ass.
Yeah, ass tight, tits out.
That was sus. That was very suspect.
Ass tight, tits out.
Do it in the camera. Do it in the camera.
Ass tight, tits out.
You actually did the walk really perfectly, but I don't think anyone could see
Fucking
it.
sucks, dude.
Thank you.
So yeah, Bruce had a great day yesterday, and you had a few hits.
Few. First game was dog shit.
Second game, you came up strong though. Yeah. Also, shout out to Louis. Longtime friend of the show, Dan, recently got I believe it's a Labradoodle, and this will be his first time tuning in today. So shout out to Louis, the
got a what?
Labradoodle. Huh?
What?
A Labradoodle?
What is that?
It's a cross between a Labrador Retriever and a Poodle. A Labradoodle.
It's a breed.
What about it?
It's watching the show for the first time today.
Whose is it?
Dan,
The one that always calls
longtime
you
friend
out.
of the show.
Yeah.
He was talking about how you had to walk uphill to school both ways in a blizzard with no shoes on back in the day.
Listen, I did have to run hills, dude. You have no idea.
The foothills of hell.
Shout out to Dan in the chat. Unk is the same height standing as he is sitting. Anyways, okay. So everybody's week. Bruce, how's your week going?
Slow as hell.
Slow as hell. Just like you, bud. Just like you. Just like
When
you.
you say that, you know,
What?
I'll dust anybody
You'll dust anybody.
in this
eh?
room
Oh,
all day.
listen, you've got a pushing 60 with a bad meniscus. Me, who's just a physical disaster.
210 pounds over here.
Okay.
It'd be a disaster if you weren't.
247 today on the scale.
You were.
Yeah.
Is
I
that
mean-
low for you?
Yeah. Actually, it is.
Nicely
We've
done.
been
Did you cut out the
sweating
wheat?
our asses off.
247.
Did you cut out the wheat?
The weed.
The wheat. Wheat.
No.
Wheat.
I cut out the wheat.
I don't
mate.
We've
cut
been
anything
s-
out.
He's been
Listen,
sweating
that
a
cut out
storm
this,
up in
cut out
there.
that is all horse shit, dude.
Listen to me. I'm telling you, you get rid of the wheat, become a new man.
Whatever, dude.
Become a new man. Anyways, we have Lions talk.
Your Schwanza needs wheat. Go ahead.
Well, I'd love to hear the scientific.
You're
speak.
talking
No,
to the guy who wants a Viking.
Why does
style
your
burial.
Schwanson need wheat?
You got to whip it with some fucking spaghetti noodles, dried spaghetti noodles.
You beat
Anyway.
your meat with dried spaghetti noodles. I think we that may have
We're venturing into a spot where we don't want to go,
we
right,
may
Mike?
have officially
Tell
just
'em.
reached a new low right there.
Huh? That's it. Hurts.
I don't even.
It's like caning. Anyway,
He's going deep.
caning.
caning.
What is?
In other countries, they cane people for crimes.
Yeah.
Take a fucking bamboo cane and whip you with it.
So you cane your dong with spaghetti noodles.
If you ever. Anyway,
It's usually in the East. It's usually in East Asia where they participate in caning.
A little bit of news that we want to touch on. It came out this week that Bill Belichick is in a relationship now with a 24-year-old cheerleader of the New England Patriots
Good for
named
him.
Jordan Hudson. They've been dating for some months now, and there were a lot of people who had mixed opinions on this. Belichick is 72 years old.
Yeah, and
and his new woman at 24. It's almost a 50-year age gap. Uncle Sam, your thoughts on this?
I think it's fucking awesome. Good for him. Good for him. Go for it, buddy. You could still fucking cut the mustard, and you don't have to lick the jar. Go for it.
Mans doesn't look 72 either.
He really does.
He looks like
ugly,
a spring
ugly
chicken.
people don't age.
That guy's a legend. I'm excited to see him on TV this year. I think he
Ugly people
belongs on
don't age.
TV, and I'm
I think
excited
he
to hear it.
belongs on TV.
He was so good with McAfee.
Yeah. So that's the Patriots news of the week. They also retired Tom Brady's number, inducted him into the Patriots Ring of Honor.
Who cares?
We also had some Hardcocks
Bill
news.
was there.
We've had multiple Hardcocks news. The Bears are getting preseason Hardcock regular. So we have the off-season Hardcocks, which debuts in a couple weeks following the Giants off-season. Then we have the Bears getting training camp, and then the mid-season Hardcocks. They chose a division, and it's going to be the AFC North. So mid-season is going to be last year it was the best race. It was Ravens, Steelers, Browns, Bengals. So all four of those teams will be on Hardcocks this year in the middle of the season, which I'm excited for.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it should be cool.
Outside of that, we're kind of in the dead zone right now. Do you have anything else?
There's news that we missed. We can do like a off-season news recap since we've last gone through the teams. There's news that we missed, but I want to focus on the Lions today and then circle back next week on all the other stuff.
Okay. Well, without further ado, then we will talk Lions, who actually made a splash yesterday on June 18th. We'll start with the most recent piece of news. They signed standout UFL kicker Jake Bates to a 2-year, $1.98 million deal, $150,000 guaranteed, $100,000 signing bonus. Lions have a new kicker.
Hold on. It's going to be a competition.
Yeah.
It's going to be a
That's the only
competition.
one that's in there. So.
And during OTAs and rookie camp, we kept hearing about how good Michigan kicker from Saline, by the way, Jake Turner had been, who was good for Michigan last year. And Jake Turner had this outstanding offseason, yet they waived him in order to bring in Jake Bates, which makes you realize how high the Lions value Jake Bates. This was a no-brainer to me. We saw what this kid was doing at the beginning of the season. He hit multiple 64-plus. I think he had 3 from north of 60 at Ford Field alone. He was in our backyard. There was no way they were going to let him walk away. And who was the best kicker last year in football? Do you know the answer to this?
Was it Justin Tucker?
No. He's good, but no. Does anyone know the answer? It was Brett Maher from the Dallas kicker. What's his name? That was the old Dallas kicker. I can't remember his name right now.
Hold on. Brandon
Aubrey, who the Cowboys signed from the UFL the year before. So the Lions took the best kicker in the UFL this year, and they got him. Now, he's got somewhat of consistency issues, but you're taking him on knowing how big his leg is, which we're really unsure of Michael Badgley's leg from after 50, which is why the Lions didn't kick. I still don't think this changes the Dan Campbell approach of when they kick and when they don't kick, but I think that you have a weapon now from 60, and they're going to keep that in mind when they're making certain decisions. It's definitely going to stop them from punting.
Well,
in
he
certain
needs to be
instances.
more accurate.
Who,
His
Bates?
accuracy was not very good.
Are you talking about Bates?
Yeah.
Bates was extremely. He missed one kick from 60.
75% on his kicks.
Yeah, but from
Most
60.
of his kicks that he missed were beyond 50.
Listen,
Yeah.
you got a guy that's hitting bombs from
Right.
60 plus.
Well, that's what I'm trying to explain to you, that he needs to get a lot sharper, and maybe
He needs to get sharper
having-
between 30 and 50.
having a better coaching staff, to special team staff to help him will help him out. He hit some big kicks. There's no doubt about it. I mean, but we'll see what happens.
Obviously, earlier in the offseason, they retained probably the 2 biggest pieces on the team, signing Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes to contract extensions. I don't think anybody has a complaint or a gripe with that, correct?
I want sustained decades out of both of those gentlemen.
Same. Wouldn't it be nice to have Dan Campbell here for like a Mike Tomlin style, like Like roll it like the Steelers.
It's
Keep 'em here
funny.
20 years.
It's funny because Mike Tomlin's only won one, and then he lost one as well.
Correct.
But if you told me the Lions were going to win a Super Bowl and then go to 2 Super Bowls over a 20-year span and they'd be in purgatory, wouldn't give a shit. I'm taking that.
Obviously, going way back, New Jerseys, the black alternates, blue face mask, the new blue helmet, change it up a little bit, white numbers. And we were all fans of that. A little throwback-esque in there. The only thing, if I remember correctly, you didn't like was the stripes on the shoulders that look like Mustang stripes.
I don't like it.
He didn't like it. Cam Sutton went to jail. And, that got himself gone.
We haven't updated this, but since this was it was inevitably going to happen because the one person that had contact with him in that point in time was this person. It was someone you just named, Mike Tomlin. Since then, he has signed with the Steelers, and he's rostered with the Steelers. So that organization's stupid. Knock yourself out.
God bless.
That's a purgatory decision there.
You guys.
Why do you go to prison? Or
He
jail?
didn't go to prison, and
Why'd he in jail.
it was domestic violence.
Domestic violence.
Yeah, but I thought that was a big all misunderstanding for what the.
No,
They
it was a
had
real
issues in
domestic
Florida.
violence, but I think in Florida there's a law where the person, the accuser, has a chance to recant, and they said they were going to work on things. And I don't know if there's charges for evading or anything like that, but you know what? We got out of a bad contract there. Dan, real quick, what Michigan games am I excited for? USC comes here this year. That's cool. And Texas comes here this year. That's cool. I have no expectations for Michigan football after winning a national championship, but
Why not?
they already did what I
Why
needed
not?
them to do.
I expect them to fucking be in the top 5.
Oh, I expect a top 12
They
team.
ain't in the top 5, then
Top
to me,
12.
It's a disappointment.
I could see playoffs because they have 4 first-rounders next year. They have 4 guys that are going to get drafted in the first round. So I could see playoffs, but if Ohio State doesn't win the Big Ten, I'll be shocked because they bought a roster. So, but I'm excited. I'm excited for Oregon, excited for Washington, and it's cool.
Yeah,
You
they ain't
seeing
fucking around in Ohio.
seeing USC at the Big House is going to be really cool. But next year, Michigan goes to LA, and I'm for sure going to that game because the Coliseum's a special place. All right, sorry, I didn't mean to derail us.
No worries. No derailment at all. Today, we're real relaxed right now in this point in the offseason.
Yeah, we are
We can talk about anything you guys want to talk about. Doesn't matter.
Pistons.
Yeah, well, we're gonna finish with the Pistons today. That shows you. Well, you know what? Should we talk some Tigers too today?
Talk some
Pain.
You know what?
Sadness.
They're in
What are you
fourth
gonna talk about
place
the
and
Tigers?
they suck.
Here's what the Tigers need to do, and
we go.
I don't understand. They have a very good pitching staff. They need to take some of these fucking guys that are high prospects and actually go get some players. It's either that or you open up the fucking pocketbook and you bring players in. So if you don't decide to do that sooner or later, then you're in purgatory hell like they've been in the
They're
last.
just a 500 team.
How long has it been since they've been to the playoffs?
Long time.
Long time.
Fuck, over a decade, no?
No, I don't think it's been 10. They
Yeah,
I think it
it's
was
been over 10.
15 or 14 was the last time. I think it might have been
Yeah,
14.
it's been over 10 years since they've been to a playoff. I mean, come on, dude. Look at this fucking roster. It's a joke. Your fucking softball
Can I-
team could beat them.
Can I tell you something? Can I tell you something? The old man died. His son, his corporate robot son that took over the team, is operating all of his franchises like Tom Gores operates the Pistons, and he just wants to see them in the green. And he will not open the pocketbook, which is exactly what they needed to do. They just needed a couple bats this offseason, and they'd probably be winning the division right now. But here we are.
Yeah, because the division's so shitty, to be honest with you.
No, it's actually good.
whatchamacallit's playing out of their mind.
It's actually
right
you have 3 teams over 500, and the Tigers are right there too. The division's the best it's ever been in my lifetime. You might have 4 teams finish over 500.
now. Possible.
Jumping back to the Lions.
I don't know. The Pistons. Listen, the Pistons. You already know what they need. That guy needs to sell the fucking team.
Everyone needs to
He's
sell the team.
fucking horrible.
Everyone needs to sell the
Listen,
team.
he's horrible. Now, I will say this. He put the money out last year, but until he gets like a general manager that actually knows what the fuck they're doing, because the guy that he had in charge of this shit is a joke, dude. It's a joke.
But
it's
I think he touched on the biggest point with both of with all 3 of the teams outside of the Lions. You have ownership that doesn't give a fuck. All it is for them is an asset that just keeps growing in value,
Let's
and they
just-
don't care.
Let's just do the Pistons talk right now, just while we're here.
Because of this. Mike Ilitch gave a fuck. Mike Ilitch owned the Red Wings
Yeah.
and the fucking Tigers.
His son does not give a fuck.
Davidson gave a fuck.
His son does not give a fuck.
They don't give a fuck.
We already know that. I mean, even the guy who previously owned the Pistons gave a shit about the fucking.
He was one of the best owners in sports. He revolutionized. He was the. Do you know Bill Davidson was the first person to buy a team plane? He was the first person to provide his franchise with a plane. Did you know that?
I did not.
He also funded the Palace out of his own pocket, which I think
That
is
never happened.
never happens. Never happens.
Different era. You're in a different era.
Different time, different era, different people. These were people that actually gave a shit about what they owned.
This is what's fucked up. Every year that goes by, no matter how bad the team is, it still goes up in value.
Yeah.
So essentially, you're playing with house money.
If you're an owner of an NBA franchise, which I personally think that basketball's gotten so downright polluted that it's a shame to see. It really is. It's too political. They need to stay the fuck out of politics and just play the game. Play the game. And every league should do that, including the NFL. The NFL starts to get political, and it turns to dog shit for them. They need to stay the fuck out of it and just keep running their league the way Pete Rozelle never did that. One of the greatest commissioners in all of sports. He never did that. He never did that. He made that sport fucking just incredibly wealthy. And, I mean, I guess you could say Roger Goodell's done that too.
Oh, yeah.
But he's dropped the ball when it comes to issues he should just stay the fuck out of. I'm tired of seeing all this bullshit with all these little gets and shit trying to draw different fan base in. I get you trying to draw in women and
You can just say Taylor Swift. It's okay.
I'm
That has
sorry?
nothing to do
You
with
can
Roger
just say
Goodell.
Taylor Swift.
Well, what do you mean? Listen, I'm going to be honest with you, dude. The pride thing, that's got to go fucking away as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing wrong with being gay, but the pride thing is just over the top, and it needs to fucking stop. That needs to fucking stop. I don't care. I'm not trying to offend anybody. I have gay friends, and I would never try to offend anybody. But that shit needs, there's no place in sports for that. Just stop. Stop.
Can I touch
Stop
on
that.
Pistons before we go back to Lions?
Of
real quick?
course.
It starts at the top. It starts with your ownership, and he's a hedge fund guy. He's an investor. And what investors do, what analysts do, is they buy low, sell high. So what's happening is he bought the whole shebang for like $350 million. And the whole shebang, when I say the whole shebang, I mean the Pistons. At the time, the Palace was included with that deal. I think DTE was included with that deal, and there were other entities.
Meadowbrook, I believe.
Meadowbrook, the
Freedom Hill.
the affiliate,
Maybe.
the Pistons affiliate.
A bunch of shit.
He bought all of this at the low, and instantly, like, instant value was moving the Pistons downtown. That added like hundreds of millions of dollars of value right there because new building in a better area, and it upped his gate. Whether you want to believe it or not, the reason the Pistons attendance woes are high is because the product's bad. It's not because they moved downtown. More people are going to the games that they're downtown now instead of when they were at the Palace. But
Yeah, at the Palace, you go see a Piston game for fucking $8.
yeah, well, they were good.
It was that fucking shitty.
The product was good too. The product was good then.
I'm talking. You could go.
Yeah.
I remember they were giving tickets away to Piston games just so
one point,
people
yeah.
would fucking go at one point. It
In the
was
90s,
so,
in the late
the
90s.
product was so shitty before Larry Brown had come here.
Yeah, it was just the
such
late
dog
90s
shit.
because when Rick Carlisle came here, they were good. They went to back-to-back conference finals. Not the point. The point is, he's a hedge fund guy. The team operates in the green without the help of the gate and without the help of winning games, without the help of attendance because
attendance is
it's
dog
it's
shit.
the NBA and
TV
it prints money. It's the TV deals and
That's
all
what
that.
makes the money. They don't give a fuck if people
And
go to-
they're getting their cut of the pie. Therefore, he's not running. The perfect owners are the ones that are just the right amount of hands-on. Not too hands-on and not hands-off completely. I think Sheila Ford is just the right amount of hands-on. Her presence is there, it's felt. She's in the building every day, but she hired the right people to make the decisions. Another example, Mark Cuban. He's there. You see him, but he trusts his decision makers to do the right things. We can go on and guys in sports that are the perfect decision makers, the owners. I just don't think that that's the case with Tom Gores. And they pulled all the stops to bring in Monty Williams last year. They flew to his house. They wooed him after he said no. They gave him the largest contract for a coach in NBA history. And then you look like an idiot by firing him. His concepts were so bad early in the season, and he was stifling talent so bad early in the season. You should have known. You have egg on your face now. So what they need to do with this hire, And I kind of like the Trajan Langdon hire. They hired a president of basketball operations that I think is okay. What they need to do is they need to find a guy that's aggressive offensively, that's young, and that's pissed off. One of my favorite Twitter follows is Ant Wright. He used to play for Michigan basketball. He's a Big Ten Twitter guy now. Everything he says about college and pro basketball is correct, and he said something about the Pistons. They need a coach with a chip on their fucking shoulder. Joe Mazzulla, who just won at 35 years old for the Celtics 2 days ago, had a chip on his shoulder. That's what the Pistons need, a guy that's angry and that's inspired by the town, like Dan Campbell. They need to find their Dan Campbell. And it's just been trial and error with all these guys, and guys I think shouldn't have been fired and guys that should have been fired. It's been trial and error. It's not going to go until Gores does. And
the problem is real simple, dude. Their team is a bunch of good players that have not gelled together at all because they don't have a coach.
Coaching.
And ownership at what point do they have to step in and say, you know what? This has got to change. This has got to fucking change. This guy just threw all that money. And I don't know who was this old dude before him? Before the Monty Williams dude? What's his fucking name?
The coach?
Casey?
Dwayne Casey, who still works for the
team. Oh, my God, dude. Really, dude?
I saw progress with Dwayne Casey.
Dig him out of. Come on,
No,
dude.
I saw progress with Dwayne Casey, and he was the one. You said that Monty Williams didn't have good rosters. Dwayne Casey was saddled with really bad rosters for years. For 3 or 4 years, he just had the shittiest players, and they never did anything. Oh, we're going to draft this guy and that guy. Listen, I think it starts with Gores. I think there's only so much that can be done with Trajan Langdon, the new GM. I think it starts with Gores, and I think they have to start being aggressive with they have to make a big splash. They have to find Cade a running mate.
It's really simple. The shit they're picking in the fucking lottery in the bottom 5 every year.
It doesn't matter if unless you pick 1 or 2, and that's a whole separate problem. I'm gonna write next week for the NBA and NHL drafts. I'm gonna write the problem with draft lotteries article for tipsballs.com. I haven't wrote an article since before I went to Africa. I got a couple in the hopper that I'm brainstorming. That's the problem. They're picking in the lottery, but they're not getting good enough talent in the NBA, and they don't develop.
Still,
talent.
you're picking in the top 5 of the fucking draft every year.
It doesn't matter.
You should have a decent roster by this
Unless
point.
you pick in the top 3, it doesn't matter anymore. You really need high-end talent. Or you have to take those guys that you get in the top 5 that you're talking about, and you have to develop them. And they're not a franchise
they're not
that
developing anything.
They're not developing talent.
It's not like they don't have talent. They got guys. That Jalen Duren kid is a pretty good kid.
He's good.
He could be good.
And that's what I want to end with right now is Cade Cunningham is the fucking truth. Don't let anyone tell you any different.
I don't know. You know what? I kind of like his game, but I don't think he's not a superstar. No.
He's going to be a superstar.
No,
he's going to be a superstar. You haven't seen it because he doesn't play with anybody.
It doesn't matter. I've seen guys that were superstars that played with fucking nobodies and made everybody around him better.
It's a different league. Cade makes people better.
If you can't do that to me, you're not a superstar.
He makes people better. He's putting up triple doubles at the end of the season. Trust me.
So who do we see as the next Pistons head coach?
It sounds like the betting favorite is James Borrego, who was the coach of the Hornets a couple years ago. He was a staffer under Greg Popovich for like 7 years. Was there for 3 or 4 rings. Went to the Hornets and didn't do bad, but I don't think they ever made the playoffs because it just wasn't a good roster. And he spent the last 2 years in New Orleans with the Pelicans. They just hired the shooting coach from the Pelicans, and their new president of basketball operations, Trajan Langdon, was the GM of the Pelicans. So he's the betting favorite. It's a guy that they've talked to in the past as well. It sounds like it's going to be him, and he's a younger guy, which is what I want, and a guy that isn't going to stifle talent. He didn't stifle talent in Charlotte, which is great. You just got to go get him more talent.
The problem with the NBA is this. There's no more going to work Pistons. There's no more of that. That's done. That shit's done. It doesn't work at today's game. And I don't know what you can do. Without at least a couple superstars on your team, you're fucking done, dude. You ain't even competitive. And that's what you've seen for the past 3 fucking years here. They were the worst team in basketball last year. And that lottery thing, like you said, is absolute dog shit. Because this team has been in purgatory hell for over a decade.
That's a whole separate
conversation. Picking high in the lottery every fucking year. And they're still dog shit.
Whole separate conversation. We left off at Carlton Davis.
The Celtics won more games in the playoffs than the Pistons did in the regular season.
Right. Exactly. My point exactly.
And I will say,
by the way, their 2 top players in their teams, They both were like the 3rd overall pick or 4th overall pick. They're 2 studs. So I don't believe that if you're not picking in the top 3, you're not getting talent.
You just
Because
said
that's
it.
not fucking
You just
true.
said it. They were both 3. The Pistons have picked 5 or 1.
Well, it doesn't
That's
matter.
it.
I mean, you're still picking in the top 5.
in
You
today's
should have a
NBA
fucking team that's competitive.
In today's NBA, there's a drop off, and there's the guys that could start day one, and then there's guys that you have to develop, and the Pistons just haven't developed their guys. They're shit.
Yeah. Do we think there's any truth to Chauncey Billups rumors?
Why would he come here?
He's still employed.
Correct.
And then there's another side to that coin too, which is that Trajan Langdon will eventually hire a general manager because he's a president of basketball operations. That's another conversation for another time. They say Trajan Langdon's going to hire a GM. You know who the betting favorite for GM is? It's
Tayshaun Prince.
It's the assistant general manager for the Memphis Grizzlies, Tayshaun Prince. So nothing will get the fucking crowd going like bringing
imagine?
Chauncey and
Listen,
Tayshaun
unless he's going to
back
put a
here.
fucking uniform on and play, that makes no difference.
Yeah. They
It
gave
doesn't.
this guy $65 million to not coach. That's what they owed him.
all because they blew it on the front end. That's why.
Anyways, back to the Lions. Sorry. They traded a 3rd-round pick to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for cornerback Carlton Davis. Position of need. Because the moment where, what was his name? Vildor? Kindle Vildor missing that.
Oh, come on.
That
dude.
still
was
plays
a
in my
freak
head.
play, dude.
Yes, but
Freak play.
listen to me. You can't look at me right now and tell me that Carlton Davis probably isn't the best cornerback that they have.
Yeah, he's
And
cornerback
you gave
1.
up a 3rd for him.
He's cornerback 1.
I think that's a fantastic deal and absolutely love it. I like Carlton Davis.
As experience-wise, he's CB1.
I think
No,
it's
he's-
talent.
Nobody else has his experience.
He's CB1 on probably 15 other teams. I'm one of the better defenses in the league last year. He was cornerback 1 in Tampa. So
when he wasn't hurt.
he wasn't hurt. Yeah, that's fair.
Linebacker Jalen Reeves-Maben.
Yeah.
He's the NFLPA player president, who he was elected.
Elected by his peers.
Yep.
That's
Elected by
good.
his
He's
peers.
going to need a job after he's done playing special teams.
Okay.
He was out
Let's-
there at linebacker. If you
What?
Bruce says he's a good linebacker.
Yeah.
He
Who's
was
the other guy you liked? What was his fucking name?
Who was the other one?
Hennon Hooker.
No, the
Ian? What was he?
defensive end, who I don't think
Charles
is
something. What was his name?
Charles Harris.
Charles
Charles
Harris.
Harris.
Yeah.
Charles Harris. Yeah. Fuck.
Into the extensions, and now this is where we kind of get into the nitty gritty. Jared Goff, 4 years, $212 million.
earned it.
Which has since been jumped by Trevor Lawrence, by the way.
He earned
long
it
as
anyway.
55.
Listen,
And it just makes me realize Dak is going to get paid.
that's the biggest travesty out of this whole fucking story.
Dak Prescott might get
Dak Prescott's
get
going to
paid.
get more money than all these fucking guys.
He's going to get
That's
paid.
a fucking joke.
And then the Chiefs are going to have to
God.
restructure Mahomes again to make sure he's in the top 3 or 4.
Oh, whatever. He's a fucking kid's been making $50 million for the last 5 years, dude. He needs to fuck off too. You know?
Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4 years, $120 million.
Which has also
what
since
it is.
been at least double jumped. And I think
Yeah.
a third jumping is on the way there.
Well, yeah, because what's it? Justin Jefferson.
Justin
broke-
Jefferson and then A.J. Brown both jumped it.
A.J. Brown jumped it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they all signed afterwards.
Yeah, so Amon-Ra's third now.
Which is why Brad Holmes did what he did when he did it. He wanted to set the market.
Yeah, but you know what? Howie Roseman has already signed Devontae Smith. He's got all his guys locked in. So you know what? We're looking at it like, oh my God, they paid so much money. A couple years down the road from now, none of that's going to fucking matter.
Yeah, the cap
None of that's
goes
gonna
up.
matter.
The cap, everything
cap goes
inflates.
up every year.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You got to figure the Eagles right now, just between Brown and Smith, have almost $60 million
Correct.
tied
Dark-
up in just those two.
Dark Lumen has chimed in and wanted to wish you a happy Pride Month.
Pride Month. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very fucking much. Isn't that your little state there? Capital of Pride.
The Dolphins, between Waddle and Tyreek Hill,
Yeah.
$58.5 million.
That's a lot of money, dude.
And I think they're already renegotiating with Tyreek Hill too, because Drew Rosenhaus is his agent, and they've already had open dialogue to
Yeah,
make
well,
sure Tyreek Hill gets bumped up.
they
Rightfully so.
understand-
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so. I agree.
because if they don't get this under control over there, they're going to be in fucking purgatory.
This is the new norm, and the Chiefs kind of nailed it with Mahomes. Every time his contract is not a bargain, they just keep adding money to it. It's good. It's a good deal. They convert it to signing bonus because they have
Smart
the
thing to
cash.
do.
Smart thing to do. If the player's good enough, of course.
Because they got to sign Tua. They got to sign other guys, too. They haven't signed yet.
Do the last guy.
The last one. Offensive tackle Penei Sewell. 4 years, $112 million.
Best player at his position in the league.
So at what point does he play left tackle?
It could be a year or two out. They're talking
They
to
still
Decker.
got Decker's still under contract,
They're
correct?
talking to Decker for an extension, but I mean he's old. Decker's approaching. He's 30 or 31, so Decker might only have a couple
and
years
that's
left
not old,
anyways.
dude. Jackie Slater and other guys that played.
Jeff Beck is put
Fucking
in a
Anthony Munoz,
Jeff Beck.
20 fucking years. Anthony Munoz, 20 years.
It's
best offensive lineman of all time.
It's old when you're paying the guy opposite him who's 7 or 8 years younger a lot of money.
Dude.
They move him over.
Listen, you got to protect that guy you got in the back there because he can't move around.
Sewell's contract, as far as right tackles are concerned, $8 million average per year higher than who's behind him, which is Juwan Taylor of the Chiefs.
Good. Deserves it. No argument.
$8 million.
It doesn't matter.
No
You're
argument.
paying them guys for a fucking reason, dude, to keep that quarterback upright. And if they can do that and you're successful at it, you keep paying them.
Yeah.
To me, it's a no-brainer. You fucking pay these guys, dude. You pay them well, and they'll take care of you in the back end of it, dude. When you're winning fucking championships and shit.
Yeah, you have to figure pretty much everybody on the Lions' offensive line is at least top 10
And money.
in money.
Yeah.
And 2 are at the top, Ragnow and...
Well, Ragnow, you know what? Ragnow, we don't know how long he's going to last for, so you got to fucking take care of him while he's here. Because he's teaching these other guys, these younger guys that you're bringing in here, how to be a consummate pro. And that's another reason why you pay these guys. You're paying them for their leadership, too, to teach these guys, the guys coming up behind them. That's how come New England was so successful all those years. That's how come. Their talent wasn't elite fucking talent. In some positions they were. At quarterback, they were elite. Everywhere else, they were fucking not elite. At wide receiver, outside fucking Randy Moss, who's the other elite receiver they had?
Julian Edelman.
Yeah.
Anyway, you think he's an elite receiver?
Absolutely.
You think he would have been an elite receiver on a different team? I don't. Because everybody
Julian
that's
Edelman
left,
might as well
everybody
just
that
call
left the New
Gronk
England
a receiver
Patriots
at this point.
absolutely fucking wound up in a dumpster can. They shit the bed.
What about Gronk?
What about him?
There was one point where the Patriots tight end
Yeah,
room, before
at
one
one
of them
time-
died,
listen,
it was probably one of the best in history.
At one time, he was an elite guy, but he hasn't been that in over a decade. He's not been elite in over a decade.
Well,
He was the elite guy at one time. Aaron Hernandez, R.I.P., my dog.
R.I.P.
That guy would have been fucking elite because he could run the ball as well as catch the ball. And I think he would have took that offense to another level that nobody's ever seen. But, you know, he had his little fucking issues.
Other re-signings. Graham Glasgow, 30 years, $20 million.
Okay.
Or it's not 30 years, 3 years, $20 million. My bad. Jalen Reeves-Maybin, 2 years, $7.5 million.
He's a role player, dude. Role player. Got to have them guys.
He's special teams captain.
Emmanuel Mosley, 1 year, $2.9 million.
That there, if this guy can come in healthy this year and actually contribute, it's worth every penny.
He's going to be ready. They just gave an update on Mosley. Obviously, he's not doing anything right now, but he's going to be ready for camp in a month. And,
Hopefully.
And he is. He's on target for being.
Hopefully he's has no setbacks.
And so that's what happened last year is people were like, oh, what's taking so long from the ACL recovery? What happened last year is going into camp, he had a groin injury. And the groin injury is what kept him out through the beginning of camp, and that kind of set him back. It wasn't a knee thing. And then, of course, his first game back, he tore his ACL. So I feel like if he wasn't set back by the groin, it would have maybe changed things.
The
a
only
little bit.
one with worse luck than him is the kid from the Ravens, Dobbs.
Oh,
Who's had the shittiest luck outside of him, dude?
Dobbs.
The running back.
J.K. Dobbins.
Dobbins, sorry. Dobbins.
Sitting here thinking,
who's that worse
Joshua
luck
Dobbs?
than J.K. Dobbins?
J.K. Nobody.
3 straight years of fucking knee injuries.
And then they also signed, in other kicker news, Michael Badgley, 1 year, $1.3 million.
Yeah, he'll be in competition.
Then they matched San Francisco's offer sheet on tight end Brock Wright, 3 years, $12 million. essentially locking down their top 2 tight ends for.
I mean, they got the best 1-2 punch at tight end in football, and then the battle for tight. They only carry 3. The battle for tight end 3 is heating up. Shane Zylstra tore his ACL at the beginning of camp last year, was out for the year, and he's apparently been challenging James Mitchell so far. So they have 4 solid tight ends in their room at the moment.
There you go. Good problems. Good problems to have. After that, they signed Kevin Zeidler, 1 year. That to me is a good move. That to me is a good move.
Most underrated signing. Came out of nowhere, and it was the most underrated
Never
signing.
expected that. And to have a little bit of cushion there on your offensive line, I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all.
It's not. He's a starter, and he was the highest graded right guard in football last year.
Correct. So who moved?
They have three of the highest graded players at their position on the offensive line last year. Highest graded center, highest graded tackle, and highest graded guard are all on their offensive line now.
Where are Glasgow and him going to play?
I think that Zeitler plays on the right naturally. I don't think they move. Fact check me. Wherever Zeitler plays, he gets first pick over Glasgow. And plus, Glasgow.
I actually think you're going to see a
Zeitler's on
rotation
the
of
right.
these guys too.
Zeitler's an everyday.
Zeitler's on the
everyday
right.
I think you're going to start seeing more of a rotation to keep these guys healthy.
Well,
That would be smart.
we can talk about that when we get to the draft. But
Yeah.
They got depth at
That's what I'm saying.
at interior line. You're onto something. They for
Yeah.
sure have depth.
There was a reason why they did that.
Also,
Dan Campbell said it himself. He would rather have a bunch of good guys than one great guy.
they got great guys and good.
That's how you get depth. This is how you win. That's how you win in this league. You got to have depth.
They also signed defensive tackle DJ Reader to a 2-year deal and cornerback Amik Robinson to a 2-year deal. Then they went ahead and got Marcus Davenport off the Vikings for a 1-year deal. And then they went out and got an interesting defensive end linebacker off of the British Columbia Lions of the CFL. Zolo, any news on him?
It's going to be a slow go with him. He's a developmental guy. I think the first step in Matthew Betts' process is if he makes the 53. That means they like what they've seen enough to not practice squad him or not cut him, and they want to spend more time developing him. I trust no organization in the NFL when developing talent right now than the Lions. They're very good at long-term developing guys. Sometimes you don't see guys flourish until late year 2 or year 3. And I think that they're going to just sit on him and develop him. And
I don't think this guy's a rookie. I think he's going to play, and he's going to play fucking a lot. Listen, you don't get double-digit sacks, and I don't give a fuck if it was in Canada or not. You don't get double-digit sacks without having – that's an instinct. It's not something you could fucking totally teach. You got to have that instinct. This guy had fucking like 19 sacks in a season. Mm-hmm. Don't tell me that's not instinctive. That is, he knows how to rush the passer. And if you turn him fucking loose, nothing but good things are going to happen.
You think he's going to beat out John Kaminsky?
I think so. John Kaminsky is a versatile guy, inside, out. All them guys on their defensive line, Josh Paschal, Kaminsky, all these guys are two-way players. They can play end or tackle. So that's nothing but good to have. Because you're going to have to give guys a rest. You got to rotate these guys in to keep them fresh. And now they actually have some depth at defensive line. But the key is to get home. And if they can't get home, then you're going to have the same fucking problems you had last year. They got to get home.
For what it's worth, the depth chart during OTAs, the guys repping opposite Hutch, it was a platoon between, like, the name that kept coming up was Paschal. People have had very good things to say about Paschal, and that's in line with what I said a minute ago, which is year 3 in this system, guys tend to take a leap. It happened with Melifonwu. It happened with there's a long list of guys, but in year 3, guys tend to move forward, and that would line up with Paschal. But Paschal and Davenport were the ones that were playing opposite Hutchinson. So I hope Paschal could be a second-round pick. I hope he can evolve into something good for them. Betts was repping with the thirds, but he was getting to good time. Like, everything that I read about him was like there's potential. They could see it, like you said. He's got a motor and things you can't teach. So, yeah, I hope that Matthew Betts could turn into that guy that could just be a fucking.
Don't be surprised if on third downs you see that fucking kid in the lineup on just about every third down, because that's what he's going to do. He's going to bring the heat, and that's what you need. But he's got to get home.
Did we talk about
Gotta
DJ
get
Reader yet? Did you mention DJ
I
Reader?
did.
I think Reader was a huge signing for them. Hopefully he's healthy, because when he's healthy, he's a fucking monster.
He's not right now, but he's supposed to be better.
Yeah.
But he's supposed to be back by camp. He's supposed to be near 100% by
Hopefully
camp.
he is. Hopefully he is.
by
'Cause
mid-camp.
he could be a major disruptor, because he was key of that Bengals line. Say what you want to say. That Cincinnati line, without him in the
It got them
lineup,
to
they
a
were
Super
not the
Bowl.
same defense.
It got them to a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other signings. Like we said earlier, tight end Shane Zylstra. They did re-sign cornerback Kendall Vildor.
Okay.
Quarterback
Listen,
Nate.
you can never have enough corners in this league, dude. You gotta have a bunch of corners, dude. You know, you can never have enough corners.
We could do better than
You
Kendall.
can never
Vildor.
listen to me. You can never have enough defensive linemen and corners. That's what you need on defense.
What about quarterbacks?
What about him?
Nate Sudfeld is here to stay.
I like Nate. I watched Nate fucking systematically tear apart fucking Michigan and Michigan State when he was a quarterback at Indiana. Yep.
Tackle Dan Skipper,
I like Dan Skipper.
gigantic human being.
I like him. I like Dan Skipper because he's big, and when he gets mad, he starts yelling. He's like Bruce. His whole face turns pink.
Are you ready? Uncle Sam's going to go on a tangent about how much he loves this guy.
What?
Running back Craig Reynolds.
Dude, Craig. Dude,
I like Craig Reynolds. Listen, he's a special teams guy, and I think you need guys like him that are willing to fucking bust their ass to do whatever you need them to do. I like guys like
couple updates on some names you just threw out there. Nate Sudfeld. They haven't loved Hendon Hooker's raw apparently, and they haven't loved his development.
Yeah, they're not crazy about him.
And Nate Sudfeld is probably going to be number 2 on the depth chart at quarterback. And Craig Reynolds might lose his job at the 3 because Sione Vaki was getting reps as number 1 running back. And what was highlighted with Vaki, their rookie, who we'll get to, was his pass catching ability out of the backfield. And on top of that, he's going to be someone that capitalizes on the kicking situation. So keep an eye on the Reynolds versus Vaki. I don't think Reynolds gets cut, but
worst case scenario, Reynolds goes to your practice squad.
Again.
So worst case scenario. So
Donovan Peoples-Jones.
he's also underwhelmed in camp. I'll get to that. I have 5 things today. Did I tell you that?
Oh, no.
I have an off-season 5 things.
Another running back, Zonovan Knight, resigned.
Yep. He's coming back from shoulder surgery, Zonovan Knight, and I think they've liked what he's done so far from what I've read. He's going to have a shot to make the team.
Linebacker, James Houston.
He's got a lot to prove this year.
Another cornerback, Khalil Dorsey.
Okay.
Long snapper, Scott Daly.
Okay.
No brainer.
And go ahead. I'm not even. Coyote Awiaski.
Iwasika started twice last year, if I remember correctly, and didn't do that bad of a job, but he's a guy that they still want to spend more time developing, and signing people like Zeitler and Glasgow buys them time to do that.
True. Now we're going to move on to the losses, and I want to hear from you guys how big of a loss you think it is. Safety, Tracy Walker.
I thought they had depth issues at safety for a second, and they still might. But apparently, Brian Branch is moving over to safety, so I think that's going to mitigate that. So initially, it was a big loss, Tracy Walker. I'm not as low on it now. He wasn't really making. He wasn't the Tracy Walker from the first couple years post injury, and it was nice to have him.
That's because the Patricia era destroyed him. That's why.
Sucked the life right out of him, eh?
It did.
Quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, big locker room loss.
Gone.
We never saw him.
Hey, we never seen him anyway.
Retired.
Move on.
Yeah,
Big-
he's coaching
Move on.
guys.
From what
Big
I'm
locker room
hearing,
loss.
I don't know how true this is, but I'm hearing they're trying to make a move for a guy that I personally like to bring him in as a backup. And he was playing in Atlanta last year.
Marcus Mariota.
No.
Taylor.
And
Taylor Heineke.
who?
Heineke?
You got it, baby. That's what I've been hearing. I heard that. I seen that twice. Did you see that?
I'd
or
actually
no?
like that.
That they were talking about bringing Taylor
That wouldn't
Heineke
be
in as
bad.
backup.
Not bad
here.
backup, serviceable backup.
Because they weren't happy with the Hooker's progression, I guess. You know.
After that, defensive end Romeo Okwara retired.
He hadn't done anything in a couple years. The injury killed him.
You know what? I feel bad for him, dude. He could never get back to where he was because he was very good. When they had Trey Flowers here and that fucking kid came out of nowhere and had 5 more sacks than Trey Flowers, I was like, Jesus Christ, they got something here. And then he signed that big extension, and then he got hurt, and he was never the same guy. Just too bad.
Wide receiver Josh Reynolds.
Big
well,
loss.
I mean,
Big loss on the field, big loss in the locker room. Good for him. I don't know.
yeah, he
I mean,
signed for more money.
More
somewhere
money. It was more money. That's all it was because I think he wanted to be here. But good for him.
I
Big
think
loss.
it's good because you want to know why. I think some of his targets need to go to Jameis Williams, and if you're going to develop him, he needs to get more consistent. So I think it's nothing but a good thing for them.
After that, linebacker Anthony Pittman.
More of a special
He's a
teams
special
loss.
teams guy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Tackle Matt Nelson.
Wayne State University. Shout
Another
out.
guy. It's just
Nelson. I think they have enough depth at tackle and guard to where they could afford to lose Nelson.
Cornerback Chase Lucas.
well.
See it?
Did he play? Go ahead.
He touched every once in a while.
Defensive tackle Benito Jones.
See it?
What happened to him?
Miami.
Miami.
He went to Miami, huh?
Back to
Well, I think they got the young guys here. They want to get them more playing time. So I don't think that's a bad loss for them.
guard Jonah Jackson.
You got the guards all got piss money.
Listen,
If you were a guard and you were a free agent this
got paid.
offseason, you got paid.
You got paid. And Jonah,
And then they replaced him with Zeitler, who was better than him. Which
right.
sorry for-
I mean, with Jonah in the lineup, they rush for 40 more yards per game. And not a lot of teams, that's a lot you're giving up. So I agree with you. I think we brought somebody in better than him, but
Doesn't mean it's not a loss.
You're going to lose them.
Doesn't mean it's not a loss, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Friend of the show, fullback Jason Cabinda.
R.I.P.
That's our dog. Jason's our dog. So you know what? I wish nothing but the best for him.
And he could be a candidate for someone
Yeah.
they bring back late. I mean, they don't run crazy amount of fullback sets, but that could be someone
Yeah.
that they bring back down the road.
I would love to see him come back.
Defensive end Charles.
Oh no, that's supposed to be Charles Harris there. My
Oh.
fault.
My bad. Charles Harris. Bruce.
Bon voyage.
And then I combined
Adios,
him.
muchacho.
I combined him with tight end Anthony Ferkser as well. So those are two different names in one there.
Tight end Anthony Ferkser gone. Wait. Cornerback Will Harris.
Will Harris is gone.
I didn't think he was gone.
I thought he was gone last year. Okay.
Defensive tackle.
Tyson Alualu, the guy they signed at the end of the season. I think he had a sack. He didn't really old. There's a lot of age there. He had more damage with the Steelers a couple years ago. All set. There's depth at D tackle. Crazy depth at D tackle.
Guard Halapulivati Vaitai.
I thought he was still on the team.
Gone.
Gone.
Fat contract. He was done. He's been in. He can't play again. It sounds like.
Yeah, he's done anyway. Injuries have rotted his body.
Tight end Zach Ertz.
Well, he was with somebody else anyway, so.
Cornerback Jerry Jacobs.
I don't know what happened with Jerry Jacobs, dude. He went. He was one of the bright spots when Campbell first came here, and then him and Awarie was another one.
I think
Had
Jerry
a good
Jacobs.
year and then fell off.
I
Forgot
think-
how to play football.
Jerry Jacobs could have thrived in a nickel role, but they have better.
They got
it wasn't
better
hard. They got that room. By all accounts, from every single beat writer, they said the biggest difference between this right now and January at the moment is the fact that the cornerback room is loaded. It has a swagger. It walks different. It talks different. It acts different. It plays different. It went from arguably the worst unit on the team to maybe one of the best units on the team overnight. And losing guys like Jerry Jacobs are one of the reasons for that.
And safety CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Blessed.
I know.
Well,
Enjoy your bag.
He didn't fucking contribute here regardless anyway.
The one game we needed you in San Francisco.
Yeah, he was dumb.
what's his face? I'm already losing names. Carlton Davis. It's gonna be Terrion Arnold, and he's looked the part so far, and he's played well. He picked off. He's had a couple, but his first practice with the big folks, he picked off Goff, and Goff went over and shook his hand afterward and was like, "Good job." So,
In the second round, pick number 61, back to the cornerbacks, Ennis Rakestraw, Missouri.
you're gonna see Rakestraw nickel this year, and I think you're gonna see him often. I think he's gonna platoon with Amik Robinson, and I think that you're gonna see the two of them. And I think they're going to bring Rakestraw on nice and slowly to the point where maybe you see him starting on the outside next year. But he's comfortable playing anywhere on the field, too.
Then in the fourth round, pick number 126, Giovanni Manu, University of British Columbia, offensive lineman. At what point do we see him?
Athletic, you won't see him this year.
That guy makes everybody look small.
It's
He's fucking huge.
he's a freak, too. He's a basketball player in an NBA player's body. From what I understand, he's not a tackle, even with that height. He's going to be a guard.
They're going to push him inside.
He's going to play guard.
Imagine him playing fucking guard, dude.
That might be your guy next year.
At his size,
Yeah,
he's going to make everybody look tiny.
that might be your guy next year.
We don't think there's any point he could any way he takes Taylor Decker's job this year.
I don't think so.
He's not gonna. He's developmental. He's Broderick Martin last year. Guy
You're going to see this guy come in and play guard, and he's going to look like Jabari Evans did for the fucking Saints. He was just a massive dude.
Back in the fourth round, pick 132,
Sione Vaki.
Sione Vake, running back or safety / running back.
He's going to play. I believe he's going to play running back. I think there's.
He's a running back.
Listen, you got 3 safeties. You got a 3 rotation
He's a running
safety
back.
guys right now, as it sits with Branch moving back into safety where he should be. I don't like him playing fucking corner. I'd rather see him playing safety because that's his natural position, and playing in the box.
So not only are you going to see Vaki, if the Lions win the toss or lose the toss, whatever, week 1 against the Rams, and they receive, you're going to see Vaki immediately to start the season because he's going to be the one returning kicks. He's going to be a third down back out of the backfield catching passes. You could see him slot in at wide receiver 3 and motion out every once in a while. He's going to be on the field a lot. They have big plans from him. Everyone's impressed with him. He had a really good OTAs, and he was repping with the ones because of some injuries. So you're going to see Sione Vaki day 1, and I think we're going to like him by all accounts. He's going to be like the offensive version of Malcolm Rodriguez. He's going to be on the other side of the ball and very versatile guy who plays in all 3 phases of the game because maybe he'll get some safety reps at some point, but for sure offense and for sure
At what
special
point
teams.
is Rodriguez going to step up and actually be a formidable linebacker in this league, or is he just a special teams guy?
I got guys in front of him. He's got a lot of people in front of
Yeah,
him.
them guys in front of him ain't that.
Barnes and Anzalone and Campbell. Jack Campbell apparently had one of the best camps defensively.
Hopefully it transitions to the field.
Alex Anelzone.
I wasn't impressed with him his first year. I was not.
Yeah, but you're a big fan of Alex Anzalone.
I'm not impressed with him either. You know what? I know I get on him a lot about being high school and stuff, and he is. And, when he makes that transition to be a guy that people are saying, oh, my God, that fucking guy's in the middle, we better shy away from this and shy away from that. Till I see that, he's high school. Okay?
2 6th-round picks, 189, Mekhi Wingo, Louisiana State defensive tackle.
Developmental guy.
Hopefully he makes the team, man. I've heard nothing but good things about him. So
Yeah, he's versatile. I think he's the guy you could see. They can groom him into being the next Kaminsky, a guy on third downs could start on the inside and line up on the outside or vice versa. A little bit to like there.
And then at 210, Christian Mahogany, Boston College offensive lineman.
another guy I've been hearing good things about. You know what I heard about him is he's another guy that can play inside too. Is he'll either play at guard or tackle. He played tackle in college, but they can push him either way. They're very versatile. All these guys that they've got are versatile on that offensive line.
Yeah.
So if somebody, God forbid it, but if one of these guys bite it and go down, they actually have people that they can push in there,
Right.
and not have to worry about changing their game plan to protect Goff because they don't have adequate people behind their starters. And I think this is where developing these guys really comes into play.
The sick, the dying, and the dead.
Well, you know what? It is what it is. I mean, what are you going to do? I'm curious to see what they're going to do in the secondary. That's what I'm curious to see. You know,
Yeah.
Is Brian Branch really going to play safety? What do you do with Melifonte? I mean, that guy should start.
That's a really good.
He should fucking
I
start.
just read this. They have such a surplus with their top end safeties that there's going to be a platoon. Branch is always going to be on the field, and there's going to be some sort of platoon between Melifonwu and then Kirby Joseph. He's the one that's the least skilled out of the three of them, but he's also a ball hawk.
He's the hawk.
He's a ball hawk,
I
and
get
you
it,
can't
he's not
afford to not have the ball hawk on the
Right.
field. I think he led the team in interceptions.
I understand he's not as fast. He's not as big as Melifonte. He's not as fast as Brian Branch. But you know what? He's got a nose for the ball, and those guys you leave on the field. Listen, there was only one Ed Reed.
The sick, the dying.
Do you remember what Bill Belichick said? He thought Ed Reed was the best football player he had ever seen.
Ed Reed was good.
He was not fucking wrong.
Ed Reed was good.
I still remember Ed Reed's speech at the Hall of Fame. We had the cigar and he was trying to read it off his phone. Remember that?
Vaguely.
Oh, God.
Bad. God bless Ed Reed.
God bless Ed Reed.
Okay, overall, what do we give the Lions off season thus far?
A. Sorry. You knew that was coming.
Indeed, we did.
I mean, who's drafted better than them in the last 2 years?
Can I give you 5 things real quick before we go?
I almost forgot. Zolo's 5 things. Let's go.
Real quick before we go. Do you have a drop? For it? No drop?
What a bum.
Not this season, man.
I'll be
bum.
quick. I'll be quick.
You need to get that going.
Because we've been here long enough. Thing number 1, this is as good of a free agent class as I can remember. I think the last one that rivals this is 2011 when they brought in Kyle Vandenbosch and Steven Tulloch and Nate Burleson before the 2011 season, and it led to them going to the playoffs. I think this is the best free agent class they've had since then, and I'm excited to see this free agent. I mean, DJ Reader, it brings something that they really needed, and then when you throw in Zeitler, who was just a bonus, great addition, and then if you want to get into the trade, like Carlton Davis, of course, like that's like they're all set right now. Thing number 2, I thought they nailed the draft. I thought they got the best player at their biggest position of need in cornerback. I think they have a perennial number 1 guy if all goes according to plan. You're not going to see it day one, but I did think they got the best corner in the draft, and I'm excited to see him. And then they just played with house money in the second round and got another guy that's going to start for them one day in Ennis Rakestraw. And they went from having, we talked about it before, they went from having issues in that room to no longer having issues. Thing number 3, I talked about it back in February, actually. The continuity of the coaching staff is what's going to make this team tick going forward. And all of the staff, for the most part, is back with some only good additions. I mean, Dre Bly's gone, but they brought in the guy, I can't remember his name. They brought in the guy from the Titans, the defensive line coach, who's now an assistant head coach, who's one of the biggest hires of the offseason. And I just think that having Ben Johnson back is going to be so massive for all of these guys on offense. And I'm just excited to see that. Like, the continuity is only good for player development. And then the counter that is Aaron Glenn's back. And say what you want about him, but he always does more with less. This is the most loaded his defensive room has been since he's been here.
Yeah, the bad thing is about Aaron Glenn right now is he's got no excuses anymore.
He's got no excuses.
You can't.
That's a good way to look at
keep
it.
saying, well, his defense is dog shit.
That's a good way to look at it.
You know,
There's depth.
they didn't have the talent, and that's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
But now they actually have a little bit of talent, and they have depth to go with it, and that should be key for them.
Thing number 4 is that they're doing things that good teams do, which is you develop from within, and then you take care of those guys. That explains the Goff contract. I know they didn't draft him. That explains the Goff contract. St. Brown. That explains Penei Sewell. Look for the same to happen eventually with Hutchinson. It's not going to be in the next year, or it might be next offseason, but Aleem McNeil is the next one. You take care of your own. You develop from within. You make guys happy. You take care of your own. And that's what good organizations do. I'm happy to see they did that. They also went further, and they did it with Holmes, and they did it with Campbell.
He could be the team sleeper this year, too.
Aleem?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's already
Because
the team
he's
sleeper.
gonna benefit from
He's
that
unlocked with
next
Reader,
to him.
and then whoever on the other side, Pascal,
Yeah.
develop, Davenport, whatever. Good things. Houston helped.
You should see a lot different defense this year.
Thing number 5 is a bit of a negative. Before we go, I just want to touch on these things. It's not all perfect. I still see 3 holes that they haven't entirely filled. The first is we're still uncertain on that. We've talked about it. The pass rusher opposite Hutchinson, whether it's Davenport or Pascal. I think if all goes according to plan, it's not going to happen and they're going to get it. But there's no sure thing across from Hutchinson at the moment. So I see starting defensive end as a whole. Number 2, we've also talked about it. It's kicker. I thought they should have drafted a kicker. I love the Bates signing. I love the offseason that James Turner had, even though he's gone. And apparently, by all accounts, Badgley is a lot better. He's added 5 to maybe 10 yards to his range. Who knows? Battles are only good for kickers, and the Bates signing is a good thing. And I'm excited to see the kicker competition. And if Jake Bates is half as what he was in the UFL, they have something good. And it worked out for Dallas with Aubrey last year, and I'm excited to see where it goes for the Lions. Hole number 3 hasn't been as talked about, in my opinion, but it's a big hole. And we kind of touched on it when we talked about Josh Reynolds. But wide receiver 3, I think, is a big deal, and it's a story to keep an eye on. If the Lions are as good as we think they are, I think they address this at the deadline. There's guys they can sign. Someone in the chat mentioned OBJ. I could see Michael Thomas coming here because they still need that downfield X wide receiver that's tall that just needs to jump up and grab a ball. They don't have that. They don't have their Mike Evans. J-Mo's apparently has had a massive offseason. He's not that player. Of course, you have St. Brown. Of course, you got the tight ends. The problem is they re-signed Donovan Peoples-Jones, and he's not that X guy, and his camp was lackluster from what I understand, his OTAs. And on top of that, the guy that we should keep an eye on is the 7th-round pick from last year from North Carolina, Antoine Green, who is tall enough. He got into 1 or 2 games last year. He was repping with the 2s and at some point the 1s during OTAs. Keep an eye on him, and if he develops further like the Lions are capable of developing talent, this is all moot. But I do think they need all 3 of those positions at the moment, and those are the holes to keep an eye on. Defensive end opposite Hutchinson, kicker, wide receiver 3. So it's not perfect. As good as their offseason was, it wasn't perfect. But I trust this coaching staff to develop the talent and get them in the right place.
And that was 5 things. All 5 valid things. I'd love to see Odell Beckham here, but unfortunately, he's the 3rd guy.
Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas would be nice. My God. I would not mind taking a flyer on Michael Thomas at this point. You get him for a deal like Miami got Odell for 1 year, $3 million bucks. Bring him here.
Listen, we still have fucking Khalif Raymond. That's my dog.
come on.
Yeah, but he's not the
Khalif
X.
Raymond.
He's not the X. He's
I love
great.
Khalif Raymond.
He's going to be on
You're
the field.
taller than Khalif
It
Raymond.
not
doesn't
the
matter.
X.
He stretches the field. He's always fucking open.
Very true.
That kid is always fucking open.
I agree, but they still
dog.
need the tall guy. They need the tall guy to jump up and
Listen,
grab the ball.
that's what you got the tight end for.
The tight end's not the one that's supposed to get downfield. You need to create a mismatch.
But
when
you have
all
a tight
3 of
end
those
that can
guys-
get downfield to where not a lot of teams have that. There's 2 fucking teams that have a tight end and you get downfield. One is Baltimore, the other one's Kansas City. So if you got a guy like that, you got to fucking step above everybody else.
I still think you need X. I think the best teams. I think the best teams
saying.
have X. They have that guy on the outside.
You know what? I'm confident with the guys that they have here.
So am I.
But you know what? Some of these guys, like Williams, needs to step up. This is his fucking year.
By all
He's gotta
accounts-
show why they picked him at 12.
You got to
And
admit
move
he
up
was
to get
great
him.
in the playoffs. He was arguably the best offensive player on the field against the Niners, and you got to take that
what?
and build on it. I thought he was the best offensive player on the field against the 49ers. He had 2 touchdowns. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I thought he was great. One out of the backfield, one in the air. He had catches. I think he went up for almost 100 yards.
You know,
that
I
game.
thought was exceptional. I don't even want to go there. But
What were you gonna say, Brock Purdy?
no, fuck Brock Purdy. They don't sign IU. You can put a fork in them.
I don't think they're going.
Oh yeah,
I'm
anything
bullshitting?
on these rumors?
They
to,
don't sign IU. I heard they were going to send Jameis Williams to
No,
San Francisco
that
for
was,
Brandon
That
Ayuk.
was Woodward Sports
And a
pitching.
pick.
That would be a fun trade idea. It's not an I heard thing. The team that keeps coming up with Ayuk,
what the hell?
Sorry.
the team that keeps coming up with Ayuk is Pittsburgh. I don't think Ayuk is a 49er when the season starts.
Do you think Ayuk is a commander when the season starts?
That's a great fit for him.
That's the one because he posted that FaceTime video with Jaden Daniels.
That's a fun fit.
I think you're going to see a different Williamson. I really think he's going to. He looks more if he's more comfortable. For the last 2 years, we've just seen shades of him. He hasn't been comfortable running the routes. He hasn't been comfortable in the games. It just seemed like nothing was clicking for him. But if he can come in and hit and click from fucking day one, I don't think there's no stopping him. I really think he could fucking really shake up the league if Goff can get him the ball downfield.
You can't teach speed.
Huh?
You can't teach speed.
That's what I'm saying. If he can come in and click right away, right off the bat, I think he's got a chance to really have a special year. You know,
No arguments for me.
You heard it here first.
yeah.
James.
And who's going to be the benefit if he starts to open up shit downfield?
Amon-Ra St.
St. Brown is going to have a fucking monster year. Him and my man Khalif Raymond.
Everyone benefits if they can get
Longtime friend of the show in the chat. Can we get T. Higgins?
Who?
No,
Leon.
I think he just signed.
He signed.
He signed a 1-year deal. No, they gave him an extension though.
Right. and
So
then he
he's
signed-
playing.
He signed
He's
it, yeah.
playing.
Anyways,
And you need to stop giving Leon this thing that he's going to come here. when
Leon's
you're on
coming.
vacation.
Leon's coming to the show.
You need to fucking stop that right now.
You and Leon are going to be sitting.
I am
next
not
to each
sitting-
other.
No, hold on. I'll sit in the middle. So
Yeah,
there's no,
that's actually a
there's
good
no
idea.
fuckery.
We'll put Zolo in the middle. Leon will
There
be
you go.
right here with you.
With
You
this
ain't
show
gonna see
needs a
him
little
anyway.
color.
It's too dark in here.
It's Juneteenth.
What?
This show needs a little color. We're
Amen.
gonna-
Honestly, we should have had Leon come today. Sorry, Leon. I should have thought about it. Anyways, do we have anything else to add before we wrap?
I'm all set.
You? Ed Reed?
No,
Detroit Pistons? Larry, what about Chuck Daly?
Detroit Pistons.
You want to talk about Chuck Daly a little
know
bit
what?
before we get done
I
today?
actually, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. The Bad Boys to me are still probably one of the best teams of all time, just because they beat the best teams. They beat Magic. They beat Larry.
to
they
be
beat
the
all-
best, you've got to beat the
You
best.
got to beat the best. And I'll tell you what, what was that? The 04 Pistons.
Yep.
It's my favorite sport. man.
I still think that
My best.
that team was very, very underrated. You know, I mean, I get
That
it,
was the
Lakers-
last of the
The Lakers
superstar,
were in turmoil. I get it.
the pre-super team. That was
Yeah.
it.
That was the last of your super teams that went down in flames, and you could have pulled the broom out because they were fucking. You had just a bunch of cast-offs from a different team.
I will
that
say,
came here for a purpose.
the Celtics gave the 04 Pistons a nod this week with that debacle of Game 4, just blowing that game so they could win on their home court. Can't blame them though.
Yeah, well, they did
gentleman's
that for a
sweep.
reason.
The gentleman's sweep.
Oh, by the way, we've talked too long, and I want to go. I have to go make dinner, and I'm hungry. But keep an eye on that Stanley Cup final. Keep an eye on it.
So you're not the only person that I've heard said this, but you think that
I've been
Edmonton
talking
has
about
a
it.
chance.
Oh, they 100%. So obviously they're down 3-0. They could have won games 2 or 3. They should have won game 3 at home. They're down 2-0. Or excuse me, they're down 3-0. They blow them out in game 4.
Was it 8-1 or some shit?
8-1, and I thought if they pull off game 5, there's no way they're losing game 6 in Edmonton. That place, if you want to see sports at its best, listen to the building Friday night in Edmonton. It's going to be the loudest thing you've ever heard in your life. And Connor McDavid, who's the best player in the world, it's not even an argument, is breaking. He's on the verge of breaking all of Gretzky's playoff records. Like I think he's 5 or 6 points away from breaking. Gretzky had 48 points, and one of those. He's close to that. And there's potentially 2 games.
Well, he's the only player that's had, 2 games with 4 straight points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in the finals.
He's the only one that's done that. In the finals.
Listen to that. Listen to this guy with the hockey stats over there.
Why, you think I'm
He's-
stupid? You don't
he's-
think I know who Wayne Gretzky is?
Oh, you're talking about Gretzky. I'm talking about
Yeah.
McDavid. I'm talking
Yeah,
about
I know who
McDavid.
Connor
Yeah.
McDavid is. Yes. I do.
Yeah.
You don't know.
So
You
we're getting.
You don't even know where Edmonton
So,
is.
so not only
All
are
right.
we getting the best player in the world in the Stanley Cup Finals right now, but he's playing at his best. And like there could be some side history. Canada getting its first cup in 31 years, and just it's McDavid. It's Connor McDavid. And if you want to see an athlete at his best, dominating in his prime, like we're getting that in the Stanley Cup Final at
Yeah.
the moment. So keep an eye out.
By the way,
Game
I've
6.
watched over the years guys have done that. Lemieux, other guys that have been that good
Well,
in hockey.
guess what? Maybe
And I'm not a hockey guy.
seems
by
like
any
you are.
means.
Seems like you are.
But
You're a hockey guy.
I do.
You're a hockey guy.
Listen to me.
You're a hockey guy.
This is the most
I
I've
was a
ever heard you
big
talk
Pat
about hockey.
LaFontaine guy from Buffalo.
He's
for
Dearborn,
the
Michigan.
Sabres.
He's Dearborn, Michigan. Pat
Yeah.
LaFontaine.
Pat LaFontaine.
Like LaFontaine do.
That's his family, the LaFontaine family.
No idea.
You didn't know that, did you?
No, I did not.
He played for the Islanders
Yeah.
and the Sabres.
Played for the Blues.
Guess what?
I think he won a cup with the Blues. No,
No,
they won a. Did they not win a
no,
cup?
he
I
might.
thought they did.
Not with him. He might have won with the Islanders, but that he might
Yeah.
have been on the tail end of that Islanders
Yeah.
era of winning.
I remember the Devils team with Jacques Demers.
They wanted so LaFontaine was the same year that the Wings drafted Yzerman, and everyone wanted the Wings to take LaFontaine because he was the hometown
Yeah.
kid, and Jim Devlano was like, "No, we're taking this fucking Yzerman guy."
Yeah.
Worked out.
Well, I think we just
Worked out for everybody.
Did we just hear the inception of Tip Pucks?
No, I'm
Pucks.
never doing that.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. Make sure to follow our socials, Instagram and Twitter at Tip Balls, TikTok at Tip Balls Podcast. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Music, make sure to check us out on YouTube. And remember to ring the bell and subscribe so you get notified when we go live. We will be back next week with a surprise episode. So stay tuned because it's gonna be a good one. Thank you so much for listening.